Good morning. Hello, everybody. It is such a beautiful day out today that we decided to do science outside. Yay. We're going to wait for a few more friends to tune in. This is my girl. Good.
Raya.
And it's Raya, and she's going to help me today. And then I want you to also put on your I Spy glasses and see if you can see any other friends behind me who we'll also talk to today at the end of our science video. So happy spring. And in a couple days, it's going to be Easter. So we wanted to do some fun experiments that you guys can do at home with stuff that you probably have lying around right now. So let's get started. So the first thing that we like, that's a fun thing to do, is you can use, Miss Melissa loves to recycle. So I have a bunch of shredded paper here and it's anything. It could be white printer paper. I have some scrapbook paper. I have some construction paper, all different kinds. And we shredded it up. And if you don't have a shredder, you can just cut it up. Moms, dads, make sure you're watching and paying attention. That's also a really good fine motor activity for the kids to be doing. So go ahead and cut it up. You can also rip it up, also a very good fine motor. And then what I did was I used a pot of water and I boiled up some water. And I got my water hot. Again, this is going to be a job for mom or dad. So you have the shredded paper in a bowl, and then you get the really, really hot water. And then you're going to pour the water into the bowl. And I let it sit overnight. Now, I don't know what would happen if you didn't let it sit overnight and you just did it today. I also don't know what would happen if you used cold water. So scientists, maybe that's something you can do, is experiment if you use the hot water in one day or if you use the cold water. Raya, there is some friends who said hi to you on the screen, so say hi to friends.
Hi.
Yes. So this is my paper that I let sit overnight. Now what happens is that, does anyone know what paper is made from? Where do we get paper? Besides the store, where's paper from? Does anyone know? If you know, yell it out so I can hear you. Where does paper come from? Do you know where paper comes from?
No.
You don't know? Well, how do they make paper?
Out of water?
No. Well, yep, some water goes into it, but yeah. Trees. Trees. Paper comes from trees. So when you put it in the water, what happens is you're helping break up all those, it's called the pulp of the paper, and you're helping break it up. So then what you're going to do is, this is just fun all alone, is just letting it sit in the water and play with it and squish it around. But what happens is, if you break it up, Raya, you want to help me?
Yeah.
Break it up, and you just mix it and tear it and pull it apart and do all of these really, really cool fine motor activities. We're strengthening our hands for writing. And look at this. Go ahead, keep pulling, keep pulling. And it's fun just to play in this sometimes. So even if you just want something to play with, our littles really like to play with shredded paper. You can hide stuff in there. But also just put the paper in water and see what happens. It's kind of fun. What's it feel like? It's weird. You can also, parents, for Easter baskets, if you want to put grass in them, you can make Easter grass out of scrap paper, and you can make them any colors you want. You can even do wrapping paper. You can shred up anything like that. You can use whatever you have around the house. So after you're all done getting all the fibers out of the paper, because, yeah, paper has fibers, you are going to squeeze out that water. You're going to squeeze it out. That's fun. Can you squeeze out some of that water? So you're going to squeeze it out. And then guess what? You can make and shape your paper into shapes just like Play-Doh and clay. So you can make things. And you know what's another thing that we like to do, and I've done this before, is you can even lay this out and get it really flat. Maybe use a rolling pin or push on it, or you can even punch on it. Really, really good. Work out those hands. And you can make more paper out of it, and it would look different. The other thing you can do is you can make little ones. You can make little ones, and you could put flower seeds in here. So you would mix some flower seeds in. So I would put some seeds in here, mix them in, fold it all around it, and then you're gonna let them dry. Sit them in the sun, sit them on a windowsill, and go ahead and sit them to dry. And when they're dry, you can go outside and you can take these into your woods, or you can take these somewhere and bury them, because you know what they'll do? They'll just grow. Paper is going to, once we get it wet, and it's kind of like composting, and they become little flower seed bombs, we call them, and then we just throw them, and then they're gonna grow. You don't want to throw them in your neighbor's yard. You don't want to throw them in the middle of the road. You want to be able to put them somewhere, maybe bury them. It's really fun. So you have like a little tiny seed. Now the other thing you can do is, like I said, you can lay these out. I've made bookmarks before with them. I've made paper with them. And then once you let them all dry, now what you have to squeeze out that water so it gets nice and dry, and then lay them out in the sun. See if it'll make paper, and maybe you can draw on them. Maybe you can write a note to someone. Maybe you can make a picture. Very, very fun. See what you can make. And then, like I said, you can also build with them. You can build, I made a snowman the other day with it. You can make a snowman and sit them all. Now you have balls, and that's really fun. Very fun way to reduce, reuse, and recycle, because you know Earth Day's coming up, and Miss Melissa loves to recycle. Okay, so that's experiment number 1, and I want to see what you guys do, right? Experiment number 1?
Mm-hmm.
All right. The second thing we want to do is, we love going on Easter egg hunts, right?
Yeah.
We also, half of the fun is hiding Easter eggs too. Don't you like to hide Easter eggs?
Yes.
So we're going to hide Easter eggs, but we're going to hide them for the birds. What? Hiding bird Easter egg? Watch. It's going to be fun. So what you're going to need for this is going to be, you're going to need some coconut oil. So I have my coconut oil here. It comes in a jar. You're going to need some bird seed. Okay, and it can be any bird seed. It could be cracked corn. It could be sunflower seeds. It could be anything that you want. And then you're going to need some plastic eggs. Now, if you don't have plastic eggs, that's okay. You could just make them into shapes, or you can actually lay them flat and use a cookie cutter. But I used plastic eggs. Now, what you do is, there is a, parents, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So that means if you do 1 cup of coconut oil, you're going to do 1 cup of birdseed. I did 1/8 of a cup, so that's 1/8. So there, if you cut a cup in 8 parts, guys, that's math. Then only one part of that. So I did 1/8 of a cup of coconut oil, and then I did 1/8 of a cup of birdseed. The first thing you need to do is you're going to scoop out your coconut oil. Now, when you scoop out your coconut oil, there's 2 ways, parents, that you can do this. Is you can see how it's kind of like a solid, okay? But we need it to be more like a liquid. We need it to look more like a water. So what we're going to do is we are going to take this, and you can either heat it in the microwave for just a couple seconds, or, parents, also fun, if you want to let the kids just play with it, if you touch it and move it, the heat from your hands is going to heat up the coconut oil. Then you're going to mix the coconut oil in a bowl with some birdseed. Can you put some birdseed in here for me? Just pick it up. Put it in here. Okay, and you know what? Great thing to do outside. If you make a mess, oh well, the birds will clean it up later. So then you're going to put your birdseed and your coconut oil together in a bowl. And then you're going to mix it around, okay? Going to mix it around. See how I mix it around? And it becomes kind of like a really weird, sticky Play-Doh. So then I'm going to stuff my egg. And you want to stuff both sides of the egg. So you're going to stuff both sides of your egg. And then you're going to close them up, and you're going to put them in the refrigerator for a couple hours. I left mine in a refrigerator overnight, because I did this right before I went to bed. Now my hands are all coconutty. And here's what's going to happen. We're going to now open them. These are the full ones. I'm going to oil my hands because it makes it harder. Look, now can you take it out? Look at my birdseed egg. Look at our birdseed eggs. So now you can put these in your Easter basket, run around the yard, find all different places to hide them. And then the birds get to find them. Do you want to go hide these two somewhere? Go ahead. Go hide them somewhere. Hide them like somewhere safe, like under a tree or like under that tree over there maybe. She's going to go hide them. And then birds get to come find them. Isn't that fun? That's a really fun idea. And something for your kids to be able to do is to hide the Easter egg bird seed. Okay, great. Thanks, Raya, for hiding them. So she's going to hide them. And then maybe every day or every couple days we'll look out the window. We have binoculars by our window, and we'll look and see if the birds came to find them. If they're gone, maybe some chipmunks will come get them. But that's a really fun thing to watch. Okay? You have some more friends saying hi to you. Say hi to more friends.
Hi.
All right. And the last one, the dirty, fun one, is making your own little miniature compost. Parents are going, right now. But this is really, really fun. And any step of this is going to be fun and educational. So, first thing I did was I went out this morning, usually early morning or right after rain or maybe late at night is the best time to go find worms. So the first thing, do you want to find one? First thing to do is find worms. Now, I know some kids and some parents are like, ew, yuck, gross. Worms are so important, and look at my brave girl. She doesn't mind handling the worms. It's really fun just to watch them. You want to be gentle with the worms because they're living things, and they help our planet, they help our gardens, they help our grass, they help everything. So we want to make sure that we're very careful and gentle with our worms. Look at our worms. Look at him. He's creepy crawly. All right, so we found, I think, 4 worms. Okay. So now what you're going to do is to make your own compost. Now I have a couple composts all over my property. I used a big trash can for one with a hole in the bottom. You can buy composters. In the way back of my property behind my barn, I even had somebody littered my yard before we owned it with tires. So we built a compost out of tires so that I can just put all my chicken stuff in there and it'll just go back into the ground. But as long as there's a hole, the worms can crawl up. So even if you only have 4 worms, more worms will come. You can also, if you can't find worms for some reason, you can order worms online, and you order the red wigglers is what they're called. Also, a lot of bait shops have worms. Is he crawling?
Yes, it's ticklish.
He is ticklish. Worms can eat half their body weight in a day of food. And so the things that worms like to eat is, and this is fun for the composting. So we made an apple pie last night, and we had the apple peels that don't go in the apple pie, and we don't want to throw them in the trash, so we put them in our compost, and this is something worms like. Now, also really fun for kids is that you can tear it up. Go ahead. So you can tear up all the pieces of that and make it really small. The other things my worms really like is coffee grinds. So like the coffee grounds from your, after you make coffee in the morning, even if you have a Keurig, if you open up the cup of the Keurig, you dump that coffee grounds in there, and then you can use the cup to do something, plant, have fun with, build with those cups. But in order to make a compost, you need a container. I have a small one. You can use that. You would need to have a lid on it because if not, your wormies will crawl out. So you would put a lid on this. You could put the regular Tupperware lid on it, and you would just need to poke holes in it. I had made one in a big Rubbermaid tote, one of the really big ones. And like I said, I also have a trash can that you can make it in. I've also done it before, just for a little bit in a glass jar with a paper lid, rubber band on, with holes poked in it. But you want to make sure worms like it to be really wet and dark. They don't like to be in the sunshine. So you want to make sure they have places that they can go and get buried. So you want to make sure, go ahead. One thing I like to do first, go ahead, put them in, is you want to take, can you help me rip up the paper? You want to take some newspaper and you want to rip it because this is going to be the bottom of your compost. This is how we're going to start it. And again, remember before when we did our shredded paper, paper just comes from trees. So this is a really good way to compost. Newspaper works really well for this. So you're going to rip up the paper and you're going to line the bottom of your container with newspaper. Good job. Then you're going to make sure that your compost always needs to stay wet. It needs to stay moist. You don't want it swimming in water, but you need to have a good mixture of wet and dry, okay? So I put some water in with my newspapers, and then I'm going to put my worms in, and I'm also going to find a little bit of dirt. Oh, there's another guy. See him? Hello, worm. You see him? All right, you're going to have a little bit of dirt in there. I have some coffee mixed in with here. And then the other thing I have is like my tea leaves. I had my tea leaves. I put them in here.
Apple core.
And an apple core. Now you don't, because if you have a container like this, you don't want to put giant things like this in. I do because I have a giant compost bucket. But what you want to do is break them up, and you want to break them into smaller pieces so that it's going to break down faster for the worms. And sometimes I also like to, if you cover and wrap the outside of your compost bin and make it dark, the worms will go to the edge of the compost bin, and then when you peel it back, you'll be able to see them moving and working around. But then it's fun to just dig through and look for the worms and see if you can find them and how many is in there. Now, the other important part is you do need to mix your compost pile just like you're making anything else, baking. So you want to, every once in a while, you want to stir it up or mix it up, but be careful, you want to be gentle because you don't want your worms to get squished. Other good things that you want to put in are leaves, maybe some grass clippings. The only thing you cannot put in your compost is meat. You don't want to put meat in your compost pile. That's not good. If you're going to have a compost pile inside, I would suggest just doing vegetable and fruit scraps. Don't do cheeses or things like that. Eggshells, crash them up really good. Those are good. I put cheese and stuff in my compost because mine is outside right in my garden. So it heats up and it helps the garden, but it's not inside. But if you're going to be inside, you don't want to have cheese in there because it'll start to smell a little. If you notice that your compost is smelly, that means it needs air. You need to aerate it, and it might need a little bit more worms. Go find more worms. Feed them up. Soon as you get worms in there, you'll notice that everything will start breaking down. But this is a really great learning experience about things, paying the earth back and returning things to the earth. So those are our 3 science experiments for today that you guys can do at home with a lot of things that you have lying around. Now, I know that you noticed I have some friends in the background that are lurking around us, and we are going to go feed them some morning snack. Do you guys want to come with us? Should they come with us?
Yeah.
Okay. You grab them. So, my horse friend's favorite snack is apples. So we're going to give them some apples, and I'm going to bring you with us. Here we go. So let's go see our horse friends. Oreo!
Oreo, Mika, muffin!
Come on over, friends. You see them? Here they come. That's Oreo. Come here. Now, we share some of our magical moments, the Mondays that we used to do when we read, and there was a time that I read to the horses. We'll share that in maybe next week or the week after. Yep. So Oreo's gonna eat. They like to eat grass. Fun, huh? Come on over.
I got it.
Go ahead. So Ray's gonna feed them the apples. Yeah. No fighting. Look, isn't that funny? Horses wrestle with each other just like people and kids because they're sisters. And they want to make sure that they're not missing out on anything. Well, guys, thanks for joining us today. I hope you liked our science. I hope you like our special guests. Guys, get outside, do something fun. I see all my friends. Hi, friends. I miss you. I love you. I hope you're doing well. Get some of that sunshine. That vitamin D is going to help you feel great and have a fun time. She's yelling at them because they're wrestling. All right. Say bye to the horses. Say bye to Raya.